Hey, Michael. You there?
I'm here. Can you hear? I just got off the phone with your wife about 5 minutes ago, trying to figure out how to update our stuff. My wife is piddling around with the SAM.gov website, trying to figure that out.
Oh, for the registration stuff.
Yeah, so we just finished the training today. I think for us, I mean, the biggest thing is really just getting into all of the documents, right, in the website, because the training didn't cover a ton of that stuff. I'm trying to turn my phone where I can see you a little better. There you go. So I think the training was good. There was a lot of case studies, and it left me salivating. Like, okay, where's all the paperwork? Where's all the next step? Where's all the stuff that how do we go forward, right? Because I'm an action-oriented guy, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have any issue bidding jobs. It's just getting in, learning the tactical stuff to actually then go out and start bidding stuff, right? So I don't know what we should be doing next. I think that's the big takeaway for me is what's next? Where should I put my focus? If you were to tell me, hey, Michael, do these 10 things or 5 things, whatever it is, what would you say that would be?
Okay, the answer to that question is to get into the BidTrakker membership so you can get access to BidTrakker, and
Yep.
then start. The first step is get OwnCloud set up and start the syncing process and getting the
Yep.
jobs down. Then pulling up the bid forms, and then if you have questions about how to fill out the bid form, you just email it to me. I work best by email when there's questions about paperwork, because what I
Sure.
can do is I can screen record and say, "Hey, put this here" with my
Sure.
mouse, and then I just send back a video. It takes me minutes to do that,
Okay.
and then
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening. I
the
didn't
other
want to cut you off.
thing is that we talk about in the workshop how that a bid has to be responsive or non-responsive, and so
Right.
I'll also be checking to make sure that your bid is responsive. And so we'll just have that ongoing communication over time to make sure that you're getting your paperwork in correctly.
Yeah, I think that's the key for me. And then it really comes down to tripartite escrow agreements, and then bonding. Like, I mean, those are the big outliers that coming from the residential side. I don't know anything about that, right? So I
Not,
don't even
not
know.
not a problem. Just shoot me
Okay.
an email and say, hook me up with the TEA guy, hook me up with the bonding guy.
Okay. And then other than that, I think, responsive versus non-responsive. So that means if we're sending a bid out, you're wanting to review it before we send it out. Is that what I
I'm
heard you
saying
say?
for your first 5 bids, 10 bids, whatever you feel comfortable with, to where you've got it in your mind that I'm filling this out correctly,
Yes.
send them over to me, and just let me do a 1 minute cursory review and send it back to you.
Okay. Okay. Feedback on the training. The one thing that, well, the technical difficulties. I don't know. I mean, the server issues. That was kind of
Yeah,
a tool to
sorry
get
about
about
that.
that.
We
Yeah.
we
No,
we we,
that was a
we
workout.
fixed it. Did it work better after that?
Oh yeah, it did. It worked better once we got it fixed, but it was still kind of glitchy. And I think part of that, that's really not that big of an issue. The other thing that I would say is the end of day 2, which was a 10-minute slot, right? I think there could be a whole day on that 10 minutes of stuff. And it wouldn't even have to be from you. I was sitting here thinking in my mind, I'm a business guy like you are, Sean. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, um, if you have more meat on the bone, this product could be sold for, $10,000 or $12,000 or whatever. Do you guys ever do any affiliate agreements, and then working with guys like me to actually backfill some of the stuff with consulting and experience that I
You're
have?
you're holding your phone over the camera.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Well, I'm looking at you. I'm not looking at myself. um, so that's where, I thought the last 10 minutes of day 2, I was like, man, it just left me there was like a million questions I had around that stuff that
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there was a lot of case study, but how do I understand the blocking and tackling of this if I'm coming at it from a second grade level like I am?
Okay,
Right?
so if you're talking about the end of day 2, you're actually talking about me.
Yeah.
So when you talk about a case study, can you give me an example of what you were
No,
talking
no, no,
about?
no. What I'm saying is that 95% of all 3 days was case studies, right? It was basically talking about jobs. This is what we did. This is how we got it. And that's all really good. I don't have anything negative to say about that. What I'm saying is that at the end of day two, there was a 10-minute section where it just started talking about BidTrakker, the
Oh, you're talking
documents, the
about the
member.
membership program.
Absolutely. I think there is so much more meat on the bone there that is not being covered, right? That is, quite frankly, another day or two of content. Um, that I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, this case study stuff is all good, right? And learning the Sandler stuff is all good. But you gotta realize, you're talking to me. I'm a 30-year sales guy and a business owner, just in a different business, right? So
Right.
I get all of that. I think so. I appreciate that. I guess where I'm sitting here, I'm like, how do I actually make this car go? Right? What's the gas that makes it go? Which is all the stuff
The
that is in the
membership
membership
stuff.
plan. Yeah, right. And I'm like, I don't know how to make it go. So, and I think a lot of this is geared for people that are, you could see it was like, oh, these people, they need this training. Well, and it was a good refresher, but a lot of that, it's like stuff I knew, right?
Sure, sure.
So, but tying that to these case studies was really good. But that last 10 minutes of day two was like, we get 10 minutes of that. That's it. That would be my feedback.
Well,
But
the
now
answer to that question is once you join the membership program, you have access to all of that. And if you have questions about it, you just pick up the phone and call me. I'm not hard to get a hold of.
I got you. Well, I say all that to say I'm the kind of guy I told you when we first started talking that I think Stacey and I spent $100,000 on consulting and in the residential space, and most of it's been garbage and some of it's been really good. I think that there is a ton of consulting tracks that are that could be added. I'm not even going to call them gaps, but there are things that could be layered in for more value add to the GCExperts platform, if that makes sense from a coaching. If you look at it just from a content and coaching perspective, and that's why I was like, man, they need to hire a guy like me to do their affiliate marketing stuff for them to drive the efficacy of some of that other stuff that they're the low-hanging fruit that I think that is kind of missing there, if that makes sense.
Well, as an example.
So I would say there was a lot of stuff on mindset, but really talking about mindset. You talked about Sandler a lot, but then really focusing on, okay, what does that actually mean? Breaking that down and giving a tactical roadmap. Talking about business efficacy and how do you actually structure, tripartite escrow agreements, and what is that, like all the details around bonding and what's it going to take to get that done. And not in a case study format, but more in just this is the steps. Here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. Now, I know a lot of that's in the paperwork, but there's also the opportunity, I would think, to have, here's how you run the business. These are the things that you stop doing. These are the things that you focus on doing. Not so much in a case study, but more of a deliverable. And I think for a lot of guys that are new to business, and I think that you can appreciate this, they don't realize that going out and selling more shit is not necessarily solving the problem. Selling more stuff for really low margins actually just exacerbates problems that you already have in your business. Whereas what we want to do is focus on what are the tactical things that we can do to increase revenue, increase the amount of time efficiency that we have in our business, stuff like that, right? And that I think there's a ton of consulting wraparound to that is what I'm getting at.
There probably is.
But you don't want to do it because you want to sit on your boat and drink beer. I already know this. So
what was your favorite part of the workshop?
I would say my favorite part of the workshop would be listen, I appreciate your pop, right? And his background and his experience. I would think the thing that stuck out to me the most was in day 3. It was the triangle that was talking about
scope creep.
The scope creep, right? Because I deal with that every day of my life, right? And scope creep is a very real problem. But having the picture is worth 1,000 words conversation, and I'm like, oh, that's something I can immediately apply to my business, whether I ever do another government contract or not, right? If I never did a government contract and I just did, I just had that piece to introduce to my clients when we are forming our scope of work and our contracts with our customers, describing that methodology and what drives cost that is so, it's not intuitive for people to pick it up if they're not living, because of the loss of time, the loss of resources, and everything that, right? The overhead and profit gets extended, the extended overhead.
How did you like the 100K letter?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't see a ton of, like in the training, I didn't see anything on the 100K letter. Where was that in the training? Like, I watched the whole thing, dude. I didn't see anything on 100K letter.
Go back to the last hour of day one.
The last hour of day one. It wasn't, are you sure? It was in my training.
100%. The last hour of day one.
I did not get the 100, and that's one of the things that I was like, where the hell is the 100K? I promise you, I watched all of this, dude.
Go back. Maybe that's where I was
getting all the glitchy stuff was happening. If you remember.
Okay. Yeah, I do. So, just go back to the last hour of day one. And by the way, when you join the membership program, you can go right in and you can read the $100,000 letter. And if you got any questions about it.
So I do remember the training talking about the $100,000 letter. Absolutely. I didn't see the letter. I think that's.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a $100,000 letter. We don't just give that away.
Yeah. Well, see, I do a lot of that now, right, in my business, but I don't have a letter that's documented and drafted. But when people always say, this concept of you're too expensive, I'm like, I've always used that same concept of, well, you can have quality, you can have speed, or you can have cost. You can pick two of those. Which one do you want? Right? You can't have all three of them.
But understand that's different than what the $100,000 letter is for.
Yeah, the $100,000 letter is really setting you up for when you're having to justify, and they're coming through and saying, hey, they're not seeing all of the things that when you leave the job, right?
Stop. It's bigger than that.
Okay.
The contracting officer has a job to do. Their job is to get the contracts off their desk, get somebody to accept the contract, and get it off their desk. There are some situations where the contracting officer gets only one bid, and that bid is over 15% over the government estimate. Okay? Historically, in their mind, all they can do at that point is say, your price is too high, and it's over. It's over. What the $100,000 letter does is give that contracting officer a tool to go back to the estimators and say, hey, did you include this shit in your estimate? But look at me carefully.
Okay.
Did you include this shit in your estimate?
And they're going to say, no, I didn't include that.
No, I didn't include that in my estimate. Now the estimate's higher and can get into that 15%. That's way different than good, fast, cheap.
Yeah, it's justification because the government is all about CYA. They don't want to say something or do something.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And the $100,000 letter gives them that tool that they didn't have before.
Yeah. So I misunderstood your question. So yes, I watched that part, enjoyed that. I was looking for the letter. I was like, where the hell's the letter? Where's the letter?
Yeah,
Where's the letter?
The actual letter is in the membership. There's 3 versions of it, I think, in the membership site.
Of course it is. So those are the things that, like, but anyway, you think about that, you noodle on that. I think there's about 1,000 other documents from a consulting perspective that I could bring to the table that we could brand, and we could, like, my brand is going there, right? And at the same time, I'm like, how do I get into the membership site? What's the most important thing for me to focus on? Start bidding jobs.
Okay, so if you notice, there were pre-workshop emails.
Yes.
Now look, the way it happened in real life, the way everything happened in real life, it was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the membership was on day 2. So on day 3, everybody already had access to the membership site, and they were getting post-workshop emails. Now that
I
it's
see.
on demand, I don't know when you finish, so I can't schedule post-workshop emails because I don't know
I
when
see.
you're done.
I see.
Okay? So
Yeah, that makes
my expectation is in this phone call, okay, great. I'm going to, so what because you got to trigger it off something. So,
Right.
so I'm triggering it off of when you invest in the membership program, the post-workshop emails, but I promise you, I'm not holding them from you. In other words, if you tell me right now I'm done with the workshop, I'll send you the post-workshop emails, whether you invest in the membership program or not. You're entitled to them. I just never
Okay.
know when you're done to start sending them. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I'm done with that, and then we're gonna jump into, like, the only question I had about the T's and C's was if we go with the monthly membership, and I can see that comes out to $7,000, 7 and change for a year or whatever it
Right.
is.
Yep.
Is that a month to month? Cancel at any time if I'm not using it versus the other
I
ones that
mean,
you're paying?
no. It's not. It's not canceled if you're not using it. So my philosophy on that. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
When we first started GC Experts and we started the monthly membership thing and we had the 3 options,
Yep.
somebody did that to me. But let me explain what they did. They were in it for, let's say, 6 months or something. And then they called me up and said, Sean, I want to cancel. And I went, oh, okay. It was like the first time somebody canceled on me. So, okay, cancel. No big deal. Then a year later, the guy called me up and said, hey, I've got a problem on a federal contract. I said, well, you need to join the membership program if you want me to solve your problem. And he goes, okay. And he signed up for the $600 a month. And so I solved this problem. It was like an $8,000 problem, and I evaporated it. The next month he canceled again. And I went,
Of course.
Oh,
Okay.
I see how this works. So the next time somebody canceled, which was like 2 years later, I get this phone call. He says, hey, Sean, I want to cancel the month to month. And I said, okay, no problem, but I've learned my lesson. If you decide 3 months from now you want back in, you owe the last 3 months to bring yourself up to current. You can cancel. But if you go a year and you try to call me up and want to get back in, you're going to have to invest a year in advance. Period.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not asking that question from a place of having a malicious intent at all. I'm asking it because I'm financially strapped, right? So that's why I want to make sure that I'm not overextending myself. I'm just like I shared that with you at the beginning of this deal. I mean, I've got 6 projects running right now, and the margins are weak on all of them, and it's just like residential construction is. That's the reason we're having this conversation about shifting, because I need a different path. I mean, this is just, it's killing us. We've been doing this 14 years, and we know we're good at what we do, and we're getting killed. I mean, you know, it's hard slogging right now in the residential space, and that's why, you know, I wasn't asking that question because I have any intent of not continuing on with it. I'm like, hey, dude, if I
no, look, let me be more clear.
Yeah.
I'm not, number one, I'm not in the business of putting businesses out of business.
Right.
Number 2, if you need to cancel because you're financially strapped, you're not going to hear anything from me going, hey, motherfucker, where's my money? You're not going to hear anything like that. And by the way, if you get into a situation and you need a little bit of help with some things in my system, you just let me know.
Okay, that's good. All right, so I think the way that we'll probably be able to do it then is we're going to have to go on the monthly deal, because I'm just not going to float the full year at a time.
I understand.
I wish you had an option where I could get the full year pricing and I only had to pay a month at a time. Can you do that? I'm asking.
No.
Do you have any flexibility in it? Because I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I think that there's probably a ton of value in the law library stuff, and I mean, I can't see the documents, right? But you have to tell me, you know, the situation we're in.
Okay, let me clarify for you.
Okay.
Let me even clarify even stronger. There is nothing in the membership program site other than BidTrakker access
Okay.
None of the paperwork, any of it, that you need before you are awarded a federal contract.
Got it.
That law stuff, that applies to a problem on a federal contract. Subcontract agreements, that applies to an awarded federal contract. Daily reports, safety plans, schedules, that all applies to awarded federal contracts. There is nothing in the membership program that you need prior to the award of a federal contract.
So let me ask you a question. Like that's good to know. So it sounds like we're fine going with the lower amount and then just kind of trucking along with that. And we get to a point where we got a ton of contracts and we need it. Then we say, hey, we've got to have access to this now.
Well, except that you can't get BidTrakker without the membership program. But if you're saying,
no. What I'm talking about is going with the monthly deal, right? The monthly deal doesn't have the law library.
Dude, but you don't need that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So here's the big question for me. It goes back to the bonding and the tripartite escrow.
I can hook you up with those guys.
Okay, but what is it going to, I don't even know what it's going to require from us. What I'm worried about is investing, paying $600 a month to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, we can't even do this because, I mean, our average contract size, just so you know, and this is not being braggadocious, it's probably $700,000 to $800,000, right? I'm not used to doing $100,000 contracts. We're doing $600,000 to $800,000 projects in residential construction, but the margins on those are shit. I'm talking 14 to 16% gross margins with a net profit that sometimes is 2 to 3, 4, 5%. They're awful, right?
Right.
They may as well be losing money. So what I'm worried about is I've got the bus rolling down the road with the work that we have that we're obligated to. The thing that Stacy and I have is we have decent credit, but we're just not cash flush, right? We've got
you don't need it, dude. If you have decent credit, you can get $400,000 line of bonding in a phone call.
Okay. So what kind of credit do I need to do that?
I don't know. You got to talk to Scott. Send me an email and I'll copy you to Scott.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just tell you, I got the best bonding guy in the business, and I got the only guy in the tripartite escrow agreement business, and he was the original guy that taught me about tripartite escrow agreements. Then I ran tripartite escrow agreements for years, and then he came back into the game when my bank got bought out, and I went, dude, whatever you think you were doing in the TEA business before I came into it, let me show you what I did based on your pioneering. And he went, I had no idea that was possible. And I went, yeah, well, next generation, 2.0, baby. And he went, how do I implement all that? And I went, no problem. Here's how you do it. We're still building that out. But
okay. So here's the takeaway that I have then is get access to BidTrakker, get your wife to help us make sure our SAM registration, and by the way, we are in a hub zone, so I'm thinking that's kind of paramount. We're a woman-owned business. Stacy owns 85% of the company, plus we're a hub zone business. Is that going to be important? Is that like a critical next step?
The answer to your question is yes, it's important.
Okay.
But that it's not as important as it was, say, 25 years ago.
Okay.
So.
But still get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so then we what was I getting at? Just kind of wrapping up what we need to do next. So start bidding jobs, and from the videos and the training, I'm what I'm hearing and what I heard, we really need to focus on the RFQs because they're sub 150 or whatever they are on the dollar amount, right? Just to cut our teeth on some smaller jobs. And listen, I'd love to do $150,000 jobs if I've got 50, 60% margins. Let's go, all day long, right? But do we want to look at RFIs that are $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $800,000 jobs, or hold off?
Those are RFPs. Hold off on those. Get four jobs done in the bank.
Okay.
Get the money in the bank on the RFQs. Okay. Get a little bit of it's now it's CPARs. In the workshop, it used to be PPIRS, but now it's CPARs. But get a rating going, and you know, slowly move into this thing. But don't worry, the money's there. The money's in the 150. There's a lot of money in those jobs to keep the doors open to get you where you want to go.
Oh, here's the other fundamental question. So we're bidding on a job. They're wanting to know track record, history, the whole thing. In the training you talked about, hey, we can use you guys as our
right.
internal.
Not you guys, me specifically. Okay.
Yeah, is there a cut for you? How does that work? I don't know what we do. Like,
it's Federal Acquisition Regulation 15.305.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and it says key personnel and subcontractors who are performing a major part of the acquisition. Okay, so look, if you can get it done by using a good subcontractor and putting in his thing, then do that. But my resume is in the membership area, and if you need to throw my resume and say that I'm your senior project manager, all I say about that is use it sparingly, because you're not the only person that would be trying to do that. And what I'm not trying to end up is in front of a Department of Justice investigation as to how I'm, you know, all of a sudden showing up as the key person across multiple companies on this, potentially bidding on the same job, and now all of a sudden I'm defending a bid rigging, you know, investigation, which I would never do.
I will never use it without asking you and say, hey, I'm getting ready to be on this job. If it has a requirement.
And my recommendation is going to be, at that time, is going to be, if you need to use it. But if you can find a subcontractor, because it's the same effect from the contracting off, and it's probably a better effect if you've got a capability statement of a potential subcontractor, because he's got recent relevant experience, and I haven't done a federal job in 10 years, you know. So, but that's just, I'm just laying it all out there as it is. The decision is always up to the, you know, all of our tools and templates and technology are available to you.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at a 1 in 20 hit rate, something like that.
I've heard between 1 and 7. I've heard 1 in 35, but 1 in 20 seems to be the number.
All right. So let me go bid 35 jobs in.
There you go, brother. And
then we'll circle back and figure out what's next.
I hear you.
But I feel like let's crawl, walk, run. Let's get into. I'm crawling right now, and let's try to figure out how to get to walking. And I'll probably walk into a pile of crap and call you and say, "Hey, I'm walking, but I don't know where to go next."
I'm here for you, Michael. Yeah. I'm so happy that you completed the workshop, man. Thanks for joining our team.
Yep, awesome. All right, talk to you soon. Take care.
All right, see you. Bye.